Basic training then. Trained quite a few dogs. All the dogs that we've had from puppies, so I've started from scratch with them. I would say that once you have one dog that's a good trail dog, if you get another puppy after that, it's fairly easy to train them because they tend to follow what the older dog does. So with Rafa, our older dog, he took a little bit longer to train. With Ripper, the younger dog we've got at the moment, he picked it up really quickly because he just followed everything that Rafa did. So with a puppy then, if it's a puppy that you're thinking, or you've got a new puppy and you're thinking about taking it mountain biking, what I would say to you, and we've done this with all of our dogs, is introduce that puppy to your bike really early on. So just even a few days after you get them home, once they've settled in, just take your bike out in the garden, just wheel it around the garden. You don't even need to sit on it, but just get that puppy used to seeing the bike, the noises that it makes, and what it looks like. To start off with, they can be quite scared of the bike, but just stick with it. Just introduce it to them slowly, just so that they get used to being around the bike. Always remember to offer words of encouragement, always encourage, give them treats, and always remain positive with them as well. What I've found to work quite well is when you do start getting onto the bike, so once you've introduced them to the bike, just stay in your garden where there's no distractions and start by riding your bike around the garden really slowly. Just start pedaling around the garden. Don't worry if they're not following you, just get them used to kind of keeping out of the way of the bike and just to the sounds and the smells of the bike as well. And again, just be really patient and offer loads of encouragement as well. Basic commands now, these are the absolute basics that we need to get right, and we need to get them right from the start. So what I've found with our dogs is the following four processes are the best ones to follow before you go biking with your dog. So to start off with, get your dog so that it's able to walk to heel on the lead, so that they're not pulling on the lead all the time and that they're always at your feet. Okay. Once they're able to do that, you can then progress on to trying to get them to walk to heel off the lead. So unclip their lead, make sure that they are walking to heel, sitting right beside you, and use whatever command you want. With our dogs, we use wait, whether you use heel, but make sure you're consistent with the wording that you use. The next thing to do is to get them to ride to heel alongside the bike on the lead. So you'll have the lead attached to them and they'll just be walking nice and gently beside your bike. So they're not pulling you along at all. The lead should be loose and you can get them to ride and walk alongside you. It's really important that we get this right because there might be times where you're out biking where you maybe have to then put your dog on the lead. If you're on a road or beside traffic, for example, you might want to have to ride your bike with the dog on the lead. So it's important that you get that squared away before you go biking. Now, make sure when you do that you're choosing somewhere that's quiet to practice, there's no distractions and there's no dangers, no cars or anything around. Once you've got that nailed, then you can progress on to riding to heel alongside the bike, but off the lead this time. So this is where, again, using your commands, making sure that they're waiting with you without the lead on. So again, make sure that your dogs are listening to what you're saying, that there's no distractions around. When you're practicing these skills, choose a really quiet area. And pretty much once you've got those four aspects sorted, then it is time to start hitting the trails. Now, be under no illusion, the first time you take your dog biking, it's not all going to be perfect. There might be times where they try and run in front of the bike, they get overexcited. So just bear with it. It's not a quick process. It is going to take a bit of time, but just be patient with your dog. They're just babies. They're going to be learning all the time. Okay, when we're still talking about training then, we're going to look at positioning. So training your dog to stay on one side of the bike. Um, there are some breeds and there are some people who ride with their dogs in front of their bike. I'm not a massive fan of this because I think it can be quite dangerous if your dog gets distracted and then you're following up behind the dog quite quickly. There is a danger that you could run it over. I much prefer my dogs to be sat just on the back wheel of my bike. I always get the dogs to stay on the right hand side of my bike. And the reason for that is if I'm riding with them on the lead, I want them on the right hand side so that my left hand is on the side that's on my back brake. Okay, because otherwise I'm going to end up pulling the brake. And if it's my front brake, I'm going to go with the handlebars. So that is why if you ever see any pictures of my dogs, they're always on the right hand side of the bike. I think in Europe, because we're in the UK, I think in Europe your brakes might actually be the opposite way around. So just double check that. But always have your dogs on the side that's not, sorry, the side that your front brake is on. That's the side that you want them on. Okay, so just double check that on your bike. We also need to talk a little bit about trail etiquette. It's fine teaching your dog to be well behaved when it's biking on the trails and running alongside you. But we also need to make sure that your dog can behave around other bikers and also any wildlife as well. The last thing you want is if you're at the bike park, is your dog running off to speak to other people or jumping on other people's bikes. So make sure that your dog is able to be under control. Also in Scotland, we have a lot of wildlife. We've got a lot of protected birds. So we also need to ensure that your dog's not going to run off chasing birds or deers or foxes, for example. So make sure that they do have good recall as well. Your dogs like praise and they like a little treat every now and then. When they do something good, make sure you praise them. A little praise goes a long way with the dogs. So always have treats in your pocket, even have a tennis ball in your pocket so that when they've done something really well, you can praise them and give them a treat.